Interesting. I sort of live my life when I think about beginnings and endings with the year being really my birth date. I sort of go from one birth date to the next birth date. I've been thinking about this last year, and what a very powerful year it's been, and a challenging year as well for myself and my family with, some of the stuff Maureen's had going on in her body for a while, her bodily issues, and then me with my hip, and I've got some family members that are going through some really difficult relationship times. And my dog, Havasu, her cancer has come back to her jaw, so she's got the cancer back again. And then Maureen was reading about Fukushima. Remember Fukushima? That nuclear reactor meltdown that seems to have disappeared. It hasn't disappeared. It's now lapping up on the shores of the West Coast. Our karma is never ending, and choices that we make, what we sow comes back to us. So at this time, I always try to think of the Hindu Trinity, which says that God is creator, destroyer, preserver, a triangle. Creator, destroyer, preserver. In order for something new to be created, something old has to be destroyed. I don't mean destroyed, blown up. I mean let go and release. So something new can be preserved, so something new can be created. So at any one moment in your life, I don't care how it's going, you can be thrust into any one of these particular parts of the creative cycle of your life. And I don't know whether you're in the middle of something, or at the end of something, or just starting something. I don't know whether you're young or middle or old. What I do know about you is it can change in the twinkling of an eye. For any one of us, the situations in our life can thrust us into a different cycle. The truth doesn't shield you from that. The truth lets you know that even in the middle and in spite of wherever you might be, there's something you can do to enter your willingness into the creative process so you can evolve consciously rather than unconsciously. That's what we're doing. It's not so much what happens to you, but how you meet it. Mary Morrissey is pounding that in our brains. Well, I pound it in your brain. Mary gently oozes you into it. But I'm a pounder, as you know. And it isn't so much the things that happen, the conditions that happen. It's how you meet them. We don't want to live victim to conditions and circumstances, do we? We want to be co-creators regardless and in spite of whatever we might be going through or growing through now. And everybody has their own story of what that looks like. So what do? Particularly if you're in the destroyer stage. I like that least of all, the letting go and the surrender. Oh my gosh, not this again. What do you do? How do you deal with it? How do you actually take yourself out of that cycle to get into the new cycle or the next phase? It has to do with giving. Today's talk is called The Perfect 10. And it's a theory, a practice, a knowingness that if you just take 10% of your energy and move it in a different direction, the other 90% will come and bless you. You don't need to wait till you get spiritual principles perfect before you begin to change your life. You can begin to practice what I call the perfect 10%. That's why it's in the Bible. It's a command from the Lord God. Give me 10% of your treasure, and I will bless you. There will not be room enough in your house of consciousness to contain what I want to give you. Doesn't mean get it perfect. It means just a little bit, like the poem said, willingness to get off the position and to get in the position to receive from the other 90% that which can bless you beyond measure and give you the treasure of an awakened consciousness. And that can happen with whatever you might be in the middle of now. An emotional crisis, a physical crisis, a challenge with some part of your life. You can begin to change your consciousness by injecting your will into it. Not like being willful, but willing to learn everything you can from whatever is going on in your life. I am here to suck the marrow out of everything in my life, to learn everything I can from whatever is going on in my life. Aren't you? To learn everything you can to use whatever is going on for awakening, because that's the only reason you're here. Everything that happens to us is the birthing ground for our divinity, if you choose to see it that way. You have to make that choice, not just once, but twice and 3 times and 10 times and 1,000 times a day. Make that choice. When I was lost in that sort of pity party over my hip, the word came to me, the word from God like Moses with a tablet. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. That's all it said. Just stop it. And I've used that 20 more times this week. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. End the pity party. And that was enough. My 10%, my effort. Sometimes I don't feel like meditating in the morning. I don't want to meditate. I'm tired. I just don't feel like it today. Take the 10% effort and do what? Meditate anyway. Don't wait till you feel perfectly like meditating, because you probably never will. If you have to forgive someone, maybe it's time for some forgiveness in your life. You need to forgive someone. Well, I'm going to wait till he changes how she's being. Then I'll forgive. No, you decide to do what? Take the 10% effort and forgive them anyway. And even though your practice won't be perfect, it'll start moving energy in a new direction. You're stuck in traffic once again. Oh, not more of these traffic lights. You're at the line in Costco. Things are taking too long. You're with someone who can never get to the point when they're talking to you. You know that person? You're probably that person. It's like, get to the point! Practice patience. Patience before you become a patient. Practice patience. I'll be patient. I'll listen to this. I'll be okay with this. That 10% effort is always rewarded. You don't need to wait till you get it perfect, because you never will. This practice is an act of generosity. It isn't just about receiving all of these truths or waiting till your conditions match your expectations, because they never will. It's about giving to yourself in this moment, because there's nothing that you give to anyone first but to yourself. All that I give is given first to me. Practice, 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 practice. When I went to Seattle Unity, I went from a church of about 175 people to one that was 300, 400, 500. It got bigger as time went on. And I went to a church that was in the middle of downtown Seattle, Denny Park. And Denny Park is the worst neighborhood. Well, it's a bad neighborhood in Seattle. All around us, prostitutes and drug dealers and pimps, and they were all over. They're not bad people, but that was their lifestyle, and they were drawn to that particular park right around our church. So we were told we really need to be careful about leaving the doors open, lock everything down. And I was also told, don't give money to anyone who comes in the door, because there are professional, mental, emotional pickpockets in this town. And they will come and they will ask for money. And they're really good at it. They're some of the best actors that we have in all of Seattle. They'll come. So I just came from this church where the phone rang 4 times a week to a church where it rang 40 times an hour. The place was extremely busy. So I just got done with my meditating. It was my first summer there. And I was actually teaching a generosity class on Wednesday night, because the church was in the typical doldrums. Oh, it's the summertime, money doesn't come in, do a prosperity season. The great glimmer and glamour of me coming was 6 months into, already worn off. And so it was time for us to get the generosity thing going. And so I'm there, and this guy comes in after I've done this wonderful meditation. I'm all hooked up to the vertical. And he comes in, and man, he's good! He lines up all these medical bottles, and he has a picture of his family, photo albums of his children. And he says to me, if I could just get a little bit of money, I'd be able to break this. Could you help me? Could you help me? And I went, yeah, of course I could. I had $50 in my pocket. I gave it to him. He walks out the door. And of course the bookstore manager came out and said, you didn't just give that guy money, did you? Which routine did he use this time? He was good. He was good. And the secret was not to close my heart to the people who really had need, because you close the door to some that are faking it. And so that was how we lived at Seattle Unity Church. The doors needed to be locked every time there wasn't somebody at the door. So now we go to Monday. Robbie Feinstock is teaching the Course in Miracles class. Been doing it 20 years. And all the doors are pretty much closed. There's a doorbell for people who come into the class, or knocking on the door. And he hears this knocking on the door right before the class is about to start. And there's a guy, he stands out, and the guy says, I need to talk to somebody about money. And so Robbie says, there's nobody here, come back on Tuesday, there's nothing I can do for you, God bless you, closes the door, walks out the other way. And then all of a sudden, he hears this. And he opens the door again, the guy's still standing there. He goes, I'm not here to ask you for money. I'm here to give you money. I want you to take this money. It was an envelope. He said, I want you to take this money and put it to good use. And he hands it to him, starts to walk away. What's your name? Don't you want to get credit for this? He goes, just put it to good use. And it was $2,000 in cash right there. It was like, wow, that was a lot of money. And that guy came back 3 more times, for a total of 4 times. His giving, literally broke the cycle of our being stuck and not having enough money. And it was amazing, because a year later, in our Wednesday night class, in our circle of energy, this guy comes up to us, who's been coming regularly, about 75 people were in that class, and he goes, do you remember me? Now, you didn't meet me, but I was the guy who came by and gave you money during that summertime. I want you to know that as a result of that giving, my life was changed. The destructive cycle that I went in was broken. He said, I didn't know which church I was going to go to. It was all there, and I went, which one? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. And I came to just the right place. And that giving broke the cycle of my destruction. He went from being someone who was destroying himself to someone who was waking up. And he said, I want to thank you. I'm joining this church. I want to thank you for giving me that opportunity to give. Do you hear that now? His willingness to be generous in that moment changed his life. And I said, you gave back to us. You helped break our cycle as well, too. We can't thank you enough for your generosity brought us up to a new level of being. And it begins with an act of giving, not just receiving, but being willing to give to yourself in those moments when you feel least like giving to yourself. Creator, destroyer, preserver. The energy begins with an act of giving, and that breaks the cycle. And it can happen in a moment. You change your mind about how you see what's going on outwardly. It doesn't necessarily change the condition. Let go of the pity party. Don't feel sorry for yourself. My outer condition didn't shift. My mind changed about how I choose to see it. And that changes everything. In the twinkling of an eye, no longer flat out in the horizontal, but awaken to the vertical energy of who it is that we are. That's how the process works. You don't need to wait to get it perfectly, to begin to practice it today. As you all know, Maureen and I, we live this public life. We share everything with all of you, with hundreds of people, every week. And it amplifies our situation. It makes me, her, us, get to the lesson summation sooner. So it can make some sense by Sunday. Right? And we know that everything comes as an example. Everything's a prop. Everything's a prop, and a lesson summation can come out of anything. Well, this particular situation with me, here's my large dose of this week's kryptonite. A crutch. I was told to get a crutch, to get the pressure off my hip, particularly when I go to the airport. A crutch. Me, strange visitor from another planet, who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of other 64-year-old men. Men, I look young, I'm vibrant, I run 35 miles a week, I can do anything, I'm the man, I'm the one. You need a crutch. And I'm telling you, it was like being handed kryptonite. It's like all my powers began to drain away. Oh my God, I've got a crutch. It comes apart, which I'm grateful for, but I don't want to do a crutch. I went from high velocity vibrational frequency to 0 in about 15 minutes. But I have teachings, and so do you. Practices that say, now give 10% of your energy to moving in a different direction. I will not succumb to this. This will not be a symbol of my demise, but my awakening. It's all dust in the wind. I've been teaching for a long time. I am not a body, I am free, I am still as God created me. Well, here it is. Here's the great lesson in humility, in surrender, and in letting go. I can be crucified by this, or I can use it to awaken to who I truly am. And everything in your life is exactly for that purpose, to awaken to who you truly are. No matter what you're going through now, you can use it to awaken. And the minute I began to realize that, I could feel the effects of kryptonite wearing off. I am not a body, I am free. I am one with the beloved. I am an ageless, timeless, spiritual being having a physical moment in time. Thank you for the opportunity to practice. And you will be given that opportunity again and again and again, because that's what this whole thing is all about. Evolving and awakening to who we truly are. You don't need to wait for circumstances to get perfect before you begin to give to yourself that which you wish to receive for yourself, irregardless of conditions or circumstances. So let's take a look for a moment at our lesson summation. And we'll see if we can use this week as we travel in the world. So here we are now. The effects of kryptonite have already worn off. And we're going to the medical supply place. They open up an account for us. Oh no! You will be back! No, this can't be. But by then, we were already laughing. We saw that being sitting in the wheelchair with her hand up like this, and I said, I'm taking a picture of this. And a big smile and the hang loose right here. You see? Because even in the middle of the worst conditions, the worst circumstances that you're facing, much worse than what I'm going through, you have the opportunity to not stay stuck in the destructive cycle, to move through the preserving to something new can be created because you have power. No one takes that power away from you but you. So here's number one, point number one. We can allow conditions and circumstances to drop our vibrational frequency to zero. I have a master's degree in doing that. It happens instantly. I can go from being victor to victim in about 1 minute. We all can. I know that, and you know it as well. Or we can choose instead to be lifted up to a higher understanding. It takes only a 10% effort to move us consciously in the creative process of our own evolution, causing us a shift in consciousness to move from being a victim to a victor. As you face the worldly effects of kryptonite this week, because the world will hand you something so you can practice, practice, practice. You choose how you want to use it. As for me and my house, I'm going to use it to awaken to this affirmation. As a being of light, love, and glory, I am willing, ready, and able to leap to higher levels of consciousness. For I am not a body. I am free. I am still as God created me. Let's know that together, shall we? I need to remember this while I travel to places far beyond in Hawaii. Please, together. As a being of light, love, and glory, I am willing, ready, and able to leap to higher levels of consciousness. For I am not a body. I am free. I am still as God created me. Yes, you are a spiritual being. Take that 10% effort to move energy in a new direction, and the 90% will bless you with miracles all day long. And I guarantee this week, you will get to practice, practice, practice awakening to who you truly are. May you use everything that comes down the pike as birthing ground this week for your divinity. And now I say to all of you, mahalo, aloha, and a hui ho. Until we meet again, don't miss all of these outstanding speakers who will be here for the next 2 Sundays to tell you things you've never heard before. And I invite you to take advantage of the great energy that will continue while Maureen and I take a little time off. I love you all. We bless you all. We appreciate you beyond measure. Thank you for being our greatest teachers. Namaste. Namaste.